Hey. Oh,
Hey,
good morning, Kevin.
good morning. How are you?
Good. Oh, excited to be here. Um,
So
I think
did
we might have uncovered something huge in the chat today.
that's what I just saw. I was just looking. I checked an instance as well. I'm at 56. Everybody's at different numbers though.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Let
Has it
me
begun?
see. Let me check another one. I got
Yeah,
let me
doing the same thing.
do. I think I could do it here. Yeah, that shows up in the right place. That one's 57. If I do a full refresh, it stays at 57. So that is a new setup. Yeah, wow. We are in a countdown.
Here we go.
Wow, I guess this episode's going to be a little bit timely if you want to figure out how to set up your own capacity and move beyond the trial. So,
Oh my.
hmm.
This is a great question. Did they time the countdown with Fabric Conference in Vegas? It is
Ooh.
possible. Mm.
So,
Mm.
SQL Gene, that's too much math in my head for this time. So, hang on. Let me get my abacus.
They do that as soon as the certification was released. Oh, that's
Yeah, yeah. If you want to take the certification test and go through it, I'll start now.
yep. Well, hey, and for those of you joining, thank you guys so much. Leave in a chat where your countdown is on your Fabrics, uh, so trial, so we can see if this is actually happening. And because I'm a horrible host, I always forget to say, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, do all the things
Hmm.
the YouTubers are supposed to say. And I have a goal of hitting 20,000 subscribers this year. So if you're using this in your company, share out my channel out to your team site, share these links out, say, hey, check this out. I'd really appreciate it. That'd be great.
If
And
you
don't
if
forget,
if you save some money with what we show you today, pay off others to subscribe to this channel.
oh, there you go. That's right. Yes.
We're
And
not
don't
above
forget to follow
bribes.
Kevin and myself on Twitter. So, all right.
Uh,
Awesome. Where are we at? We're seeing
so
people.
how's your week been? You get through all your snowstorms and everything? Man, I've seen some big ones across the country.
Yeah, so I shoveled, I think, a sum total of like 7 or 8 times last weekend.
Hmm.
We had a power outage on Friday for a couple hours, which is always a little scary when the temperature like is going into the negatives. Like, how long can you be cold without pipes bursting and that stuff?
Right.
Um, but yeah, we're doing good. We're back and up and running. How
Good.
about yourself?
Ours hasn't been too bad, right? We just got cold. We got a very, very little bit of snow that shut everybody down. It's just kind of ridiculous to me, but
Yeah.
I grew up north, right, and live down here now. But I get it, and to me, it doesn't matter. I leave the house 3 to 4 times a week, so um, it didn't impact me at all, except being cold. But yeah, it was good.
Oh,
Yeah, I
good, good,
know.
good, good.
Stina in Texas, right? She's in Texas. I'm in Texas, and yeah, we got cold here. It's just the way Texas works. So, what are you gonna
Those
do?
things will happen, right?
We're getting cold again this weekend, so I don't know if people will shut things down again or not, but I won't. So I got to leave the house once. Yeah, at least once tomorrow. I don't think I have anything else, so I got to leave the house once this weekend.
All right. Well, good deal. It's actually a workout routine. It's the latest thing. You've heard of people doing CrossFit. I'm doing subscriber hit. It's just it's a workout. Got to hit 20,000 of them.
Yeah. You got to build up those subscriber muscles. So
Yep. Well, and also to support like, uh, uh, everyone knows like I've got a big fan of like, hey, no DAX columns, support
mhm.
the cause, get out there, like let's shut down DAX columns, let's get everyone stopping it, and let's in 20 years let's see them deprecate this from the service, or maybe 10, for lucky 5. But just,
I
uh, go
I
ahead.
have a I have a query from looking deeper into the DAX query functions. right? And I have a query that actually, I think it was in one of the blog posts, right? That you could find the DAX columns just by using a DAX query, using those info tables. So we'll keep talking about that again sometime, and how you find them, maybe how you could, build up a way to kind of look at it and everything. So.
And to Enterprise AR had a great idea for a shirt last week. So no DAX columns is greater than DAX columns. So this is out and available as well. So support the cause. What is Copilot thinks? Yeah, that's when you know the AI has begun the path towards evil. When Copilot starts making DAX columns, we're in trouble. So. Awesome. Well, we do have a lot to get into today. I've got a hard stop at like 2 to 8:30. So we're going to be jumping right into it really quick here. A couple things, updates for people to be aware. Microsoft Fabric Conference is coming up. It's March 26th to the 28th. This is a great community conference. I just confirmed I'm going to be speaking at the conference.
Nice.
So come join the sessions. There's tons and tons of stuff out there. We'll be talking with Ofer about one of my favorite pieces of the solution, which is an embedded solution for embedded analytics for internal, external, for wherever you need to have. That really helps tell that story. And yes, Stina, looking forward to meeting you as well. Make sure you connect in. So if you can find time, sign up and head over there. It's going to be good. I'm also going to be on at Scales. We've got a podcast where we're actually evaluating the performance of Fabric compared to, with Power BI on top of Direct Link compared to at scale on top of Snowflake. This is a podcast that you want to tune in and check this out. This is going to be a good one. Make sure you sign up and let me know how that goes on your side. I'd love to hear your feedback on this conversation. And if you weren't aware, Tabular Editor has released this incredible new training program. These courses are no joke. I went to record a video where I thought I'd go through the entire first course, and just show you what it was like. Well, 40 minutes in, I was only through the first module. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to cap it there because that's too long. I didn't have time to do the whole thing. But this is a great program. It's very detailed. It's very in-depth. You should definitely check it out.
Boy, yeah, their tabular editors making a lot of good moves lately and everything. So it's been a great product. I know I use it almost every day, or every time I'm getting into models. I still prefer it when I'm doing the modeling over the desktop, even though the desktop is getting a whole lot better. Or especially if I have a dev instance that is on a capacity and I can use the XMLA endpoint, I tend to tail towards Tabular Editor 3 first. So, but I'm assuming that training doesn't cover just what's in 3, right? For what you took, is it 2 and 3, right?
Yeah, for the most, well, from what I've seen, and they say you could do 2 or 3, so you could do that for the training. It looked like most of everything they're covering was the generic Tabular Editor. I'm sure there's some parts that get into it, but in module 1, you don't go deeper than that. So it's good.
Good.
All right. Topic of the day.
Saving money, right? So we're going to get into saving money, but it's going to come a little bit later into the live stream. We're going to start off by kind of talking about thinking about saving CUs, but in saving CUs, it doesn't necessarily immediately transfer into saving money, right? And so there's a lot of great articles out there that are talking about looking at the Fabric capacity metrics, right? Which you should be doing. Make sure that once you have a capacity installed, you set up that app from Microsoft. You're reviewing your capacity metrics, that you're monitoring what's being set up and how many CUs different things are taking. Because Data flows, if you're using data flows, I can tell you right now, you will see them take up a bunch of CUs. And that is important to know. But just because the data flows are taking up the CUs, that doesn't equate to being charged more or less, or at least not at that moment, right? So we were kind of going through this ahead of time where one analogy I was thinking of, and the chat could tell me whether they think this is good or bad, right? But everybody pays for internet access at home, right? And when you're looking at your providers, you have a choice of so much bandwidth. And then you got to think about how much do I purchase? Do I get let's say a 200 download speed, package, right? Download and upload. Let's say it's fiber. And you're using all of that, and then all of a sudden, one of your kids, like my son, gets to an age and starts playing video games and has a huge download happening, right? And I know when he was doing a lot of this, and I would be on, he'd start, I started noticing all of a sudden I'm getting times where things are slowing down for me, or things aren't going exactly the way I expect it. And he would then tell me, yeah, I got a download going. So him and I had to start kind of communicating. Hey, am I working a lot? Am I doing a live stream? Am I doing something that I need a lot of the bandwidth, or can he do it? A lot of times, say overnight, right? But no matter when he did it, that didn't really impact the bill that I was paying, right? I was still paying, let's throw a number at, I don't know how much it is, say $50 a month, right? Um, I'd still pay the same $50 a month, whether him and I were doing anything. Everybody goes to sleep. You still have all that bandwidth available, right? So I'm not saving money yet, but because him and I were talking, we understood what was going on. We knew that I didn't have to move, say, from whatever the 200 plan to a 400 plan, right? Because we were able to understand everything going on, and so we saved money in the long run by not spending more money. To me, managing CUs is about the same thing. You set up an F2 capacity, you're monitoring how much, right? Or you're setting up the trial, right? Let's think about the trial first, because a lot of people ask this question is, if I'm doing the trial, how do I know what size capacity do I need to get later on? And using that metrics app is going to help you with this. It's not going to give you a clear cut answer. I don't think it's designed in a way to say, oh, this would have fit on an F2. Wonder if somebody will come up with some way of doing that. But it'll give you an idea of what's being used and what you need to optimize, so that once you do put it onto an F2, you could see how much it's taken up and how well it's working. So let's kind of start there. Chris, I have my screen up with this article, and I'll share this with out here as you. So this is from Formu, which it's an excellent article, but it does talk about how to save CUs or build time. And when I read through this again, I had to change my mindset of, is this saving me money or not? But it's really setting you up to save those capacity units. And he's comparing the data flow Gen 2 and the notebook. And he has a lot of good hints in here on how to bring down CUs being allocated or being utilized. I'm not going to read it all the way through, but kind of a spoiler alert. Some of the things you could do down below is, when you're running a notebook, if you're doing development mode, you go in and you execute a notebook, and he's showing where the numbers come out. And right here is one of the keys, is when you run a notebook, the session starts and you're doing development work, right? And say sometimes I'll be developing 2 or 3 notebooks at a time, and this happened to me multiple times. Is I'd go from one tab to another, and then I'd go start a notebook, and all of a sudden I'd get an error saying I didn't have enough capacity. I was using clients F2 at the time. I didn't have enough capacity to start that notebook. So you had to go in and do a stop session. Well, he takes that same idea and looks at it of how many capacity units get logged into the monitoring app so you know how much is being used. And this is important during your development time to understand how big or how well you have to kind of how well, number one, how big to have a capacity, but number two, it could be ways that you got to talk to your development team of how to share development, be respectful of others. By if you're done with a session, if you just close the browser, that does not stop your session. It will run in the background until it times out, and that's what he talks about here. But if you actually click on the stop session button, and it looks pretty much like what I have boxed off here, now you're going to stop having capacity units go to you on that notebook.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's really important to not just for us to understand this, but for us to explain this to everyone in our company, and for us to be able to clearly articulate the value of this, because one of the big challenges I've seen that a lot of companies have in the past is if you don't clean as you go, you end up getting such a mess that it's almost impossible to go back and clean it up, right? And maybe it's not in the practice of how you run individual notebooks. That's something, okay, we make a decision to change that now, but and that stops right away. But if you have sloppy processes, or you're running jobs that are overly consuming CUs, that's when it becomes a mess that you can't address, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's very important. So let's say you're developing out a solution, you have X number of notebooks, and you're trying to understand how long those notebooks run. And if you're starting them manually and then trying to go look at that time frame, or you're going to run them say 5 times or whatever manually, but you never stop the session, now it's higher than what it's actually running, and it may push you to buy a bigger capacity than you really need. So, if you are going to try to run them, I would suggest put it into a pipeline, schedule that pipeline to run a couple times, and let it and handle everything, and then look at your capacity units and the metric app to start trying to figure out what size capacity you need after that, especially while you're doing the development. But yeah, you need to optimize as you're going, and you need to always look at what is the actual number reporting. And this, in his case, because I thought it was great. I think he came about this because he was trying to figure some of that stuff out. And he's like, this is really small. Why did it have so many CU seconds? And it's because the capacity remained running even after he hit closed on that tab. So,
Yeah, and I mean, Stina, you're right. As like, if you're a developer of one in your organization, maybe it becomes easier for these smaller type changes, like in a day-to-day thing, to change and control, right? Like
mhm.
you own what's going on in your day-to-day. You can easily hit that button and you can get better at that. I think the problem comes though, even as a developer of one, if you're not optimizing the work as you go, going back and cleaning stuff up is really hard to get capacity and availability to do that. Nobody likes to, oh, we're going to go back and refactor something. That that doesn't bring additional business value. All it does is like save on expense and costs, right? And um, because going from that F2 to that F4, maybe that's not as big of a deal, right? 262 to 524. Okay, you're spending 200 some odd dollars extra a month. That's not the end of the world for most companies. In fact, if you're probably watching this live stream, a lot of us make much more than this in 8 to 10 hour day. We're making more than $20 an hour. So like this is chicken feed, right? So you're like, fine, I'm not going to refactor it. The
Big
problem
chickens.
comes, yeah, well, yeah. The problem comes though when all of a sudden you get that technical debt that's out there, and when you get that big mound of debt that you can't go back and refactor, because now you're talking not just days of work or weeks of work, but maybe it's months or years of effort. These costs become significantly more real when you're talking $8,400 a month. That's a significant like that's a significant check that the company's cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is a great question. Cody's asking, is an open notebook taken to use unique to Fabric? Do other tools like Databricks have this added compute to leave notebooks open? Great question, Cody. I guess Kevin, what's your
I don't know the answer. I don't understand. I haven't looked deeper into things like Databricks. I was trying to think if I was doing some development on Azure Synapse Analytics, but we didn't look at the billing time during development. We actually got it into a run state and let it run for multiple days before we looked at the cost analysis up in Azure. So I really don't know, right? I mean, but this is a development time, right? Because again, just his big aha moment was, oh, I was closing the tab and it wasn't. You're just thinking, oh, I'm done, I'm disconnected. It's going to just close everything, but it doesn't. It still has that cluster pretty much running in the background. We'll call it a cluster, even if it's a one node, setup, depending on what you have set up in your sessions. But I just don't know. Anybody in the chat?
I will say, the last time I touched Databricks, in order for your notebook to function and operate, you had to go turn on a cluster, and then you could go in and you could use your notebook. That cluster would have like a timeout. If it didn't see activity within X period, it would time out and then it would shut down. I believe that's a similar type of functionality that Fabric has, because you could then go and shut off that cluster and say, okay, hey, I don't need this node anymore, shut this thing down. But as long as you left it on and running, it would run for as long as it was on until it reached that inactivity threshold. And I don't remember what that was.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Azure Synapse Analytics had the same thing, because you had to define different cluster sizes or cluster configurations, and then one would have to get set up. And I think it had the same thing, as if it detected inactivity, say for an hour or whatever, then it would go ahead and shut itself down, right? And this is doing the same thing. It's just, think about it again. If you got 3 notebooks open, all in each different tab, right? And you hit, run, you're going to end up with 3 different sessions going on, and all 3 of those taking up CUs at the time. So, think of how you're doing the development. There's another way that I did it once or twice, and I don't have it all documented, but you could take a notebook that's running and have it take over one of the sessions that's going on. So that would be another way for you to reduce development times to use being built out. Now we got the master on, so he's going to correct us in the chat.
That's all right. But now so we've talked through why this is important. We've gone into like the value of this. I don't know how to do any of this, Kevin, though. Can you help me actually implement this?
Sure. And we covered this once before, but just on a real brief basis. So I'm going to put the link in the stream again. And this was an article written by Richard Mintz. And it was one of the best ones that I found when I was looking at how to automate pausing and resuming the capacity. So for a solution that I have in today, we only have to run it one time a night. And then what I made the decision is to put the data set still on the pro capacity, because I don't need data lake. It's a very, very small data set, right? So it's on a pro capacity. It hits the SQL endpoint of, I think the warehouse is where we'll call it gold, where my gold lands, right? Once it does that refresh, then I don't need the capacity up anymore, right? So I talked with my client about all that. And we said, we're going to look at reserved instance. And I said, I think I could save you even more money just by only having this run for, I give it some leeway. I have it up for a couple hours a night, just, in case something runs long or whatever. and then pause it on a schedule. So this article here that we just put out there talks about doing that. And it's using what's called Azure Automation Runbooks, which can be implemented a couple different ways. This is showing how to implement it. Let me slowly scroll down here. Using PowerShell, which is a very common way of doing it. So you have to understand, you have to get your subscription, the resource group, and then it has a method that is built in here, which is going to be suspend or resume, the name of the capacity, and then this API version. And I think that, yeah, that defaults. You see that has a default here. So we're going to try to do this today, starting brand new from Chris's tenant, where remember a few weeks ago, we set up a Fabric capacity. I think it was on maybe one of your Wednesdays or when Christina was here, and you set up one named Dog. It's one of my favorite names. And whenever somebody asks me what to name something, my answer is Dog. People
Nice
get
and
so
easy,
people get so hung up on what do I name this, So
let's keep these things simple, right?
Exactly. So
All right.
So
So
following
walk me
through,
through this. I don't know what I'm doing,
okay.
which is a standard phrase that I repeat over and over again. What do I do here, Kevin?
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's kind of capture so that we know a few things. Let's go and look at Dog itself.
Okay, I've launched Dog.
Okay. So you see that subscription ID. Remember, one of the parameters that we need is the subscription. So we're going to need that GUID if you want to put that on a clipboard somewhere.
Copy that to a notepad. And in fact, what I've done to make this easy is I have just copied and pasted that script that was in the blog, right? So this is exactly how it would be, right? So we're just going to follow along with there. So I've pasted that subscription ID here. But I think that goes in here, right? Is that where
we're going to be able to set it as a parameter because the runbook, when you schedule the job, you could use this for many different places, right?
All
but
right.
you could schedule it and say on this.
Do anything more than this.
Yeah, you don't have to hard code it.
Okay.
So we're going to also need that resource group name. So your Kratos BI Central resource group.
Okay.
And then we know that the resource name is Dog. So that I think we can remember.
I remember nothing. I never. I don't rely upon my memory at all. It is. It's Dog. All right. Okay. What else we got? We got to remember here.
So that should be it, right? We got subscription, we got resource group, and we got the name of the capacity.
Okay.
Okay.
Right,
so now we
got
can
everything we need, right? All right. So let's head back to home. You said.
Yeah. And because we already searched for it earlier, and you could use a search bar up top, but we're going to use an automation account.
Okay, so automation account. Okay, so it just pops up right here. So I can click in here, and I don't have one.
You don't have any at all.
Am I dead in the water? Or
not
just create one.
Not at all. We're going to go ahead and create one.
Okay.
And you could name it. So I would put it into the same resource group that you have, your central. Name it whatever.
Run Dog.
Yeah, but remember, this doesn't specifically have to be for Dog, right? So if you give it a little generic name, right, like Fabric, I might name it. Actually, there's a naming standard for things in Azure, and so automation accounts usually start with AA. And then I think you can put the dash into there, and manage Fabric. Maybe a good name.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So naming conventions say it should be this. Adam says it should be Scooby, and I like that better.
Okay, we could do Scooby.
There we go. All right. Because we're all about having fun here. All right. So we go next, or can we just create it? What do we do next? Or
So next, it's going to have a managed identity, and we're just going to let
Mhm.
that be system assigned, and we
Okay.
need that.
Mhm.
Networking, public access is fine. I've taken all the defaults.
Okay.
Tags, if you're an admin in a big place, sometimes you have tagging standards.
Okay.
Sometimes people use that to help them figure out billing and things like that. So
Mm.
um, one tag that I tend to use everywhere is purpose, um, or description or something, right? So that you end up knowing a little bit of why you put it out there, right? This, to automate, pause, and resume of fabric capacities. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a good practice. Then you're just going to review and create. You can see the validation passed, and so we're going to go ahead and click create at the bottom there.
Well, it's almost like this is too easy.
It's not extremely difficult, right? Now you do have to have permissions up in your Azure tenant,
Mhm.
or you might need to work with your Azure admin for them to put something like this in. The
But
deployment,
we do have to wait for it to get done deploying, right?
yes,
Oh,
and
and now it's done.
yeah, it shouldn't take too long. So yeah, it's complete.
Yeah.
This one's pretty fast.
Okay.
Okay, so now we come in here and we have our all the things down the side, and this is where I'm going to get a little bit iffy on it. So let's see. We need to find, and unfortunately, the screen came up. I'm overlapping. What we need to find is the page down a little bit. We need to find the managed identity. I don't think it's under. Go into credentials.
Manage identity is in credentials. Where did I miss
Yeah,
it?
look under credentials first. You got
As you can
Python.
see, we've rehearsed this from
It's
beginning
not
to
the.
end. No. Okay.
Yeah, hang on. Let me look at over at my client site where I had, because I should have done this just a minute ago. This is what everybody loves, is that um,
This is called live
our
demos.
yeah,
Don't we
yeah.
in identity? Don't we add Azure role assignments?
Yeah, we're gonna do an Azure role assignment on the capacity. Oh, and of course, this is asking me to. So we need to know what that identity is that just got created.
So this object principal ID.
Yes.
So
And so
again,
you
my
copy
memory's
that.
garbage. So let me just copy that and put that into my notepad. So I put that over here. Is that the same thing as? No. Okay.
No,
Interesting.
it's going to be
Don't do
different.
that. Yeah. Okay. So I go back to my home and I go back into dog.
Yep.
Okay.
And under dog, you're going to have your access control IAM.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you're going to go into role assignments,
Yep.
or add a
And so
role assignment there.
yeah, add a role assignment.
There's always 16 different ways of doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Privileged admin roles. And let me look back at the article. It tells us specifically, I think we have to give it at least creator. Contributor. Yeah, contributor.
Yep.
And so you're going to select contributor.
Mm-hmm. Selected and next.
And should do next. And you could select members. Yeah, you're going to say managed identity. Oh, I forgot that it does this. Select members. And click automation account. And then it gives us that Scooby that we didn't even need to go find that number.
Yep. Yay, it's getting easier.
I remember it's easier now. Okay, so we
hang
have.
on one second. You're missing a little bit of my screen. I'm going to change the layout here just so you can see this. So then I do select, right?
Correct.
Okay, select. All right.
So then we
full screen so you can see more.
Yeah. So see, we have Scooby selected. It's a type of an automation account, and we could just do the review and assign.
Okay, so next.
Yeah. It's going to ask you, can a job function with less access be used instead? But we're not going to change that. So it gives you a little warning, but we're going to say, yeah, that's fine. We know what we're
A
doing.
big thing in the cloud is always go for least privileged access. You never want to give something more access than necessary. In this case, we know that this is a level of access that is needed. So review and assign.
Mm-hmm. And then that's all done. So you get the little message up top. Scooby was added as contributor for dog. I like the way that's spelled out.
Yeah, that works out nicely. I like that.
There's your new challenges. You're doing things here to get the messages to read it in a good way.
Yep.
Okay, so what that did is that gave that automation account the ability to manage the fabric capacity. Okay. So now if we go back to our automation account.
So back home and go back to Scooby.
And what we need to do is create a new run book. So what is that? About 5 down. Yeah.
Okay, right here.
And
All right.
you're going to see there's a couple run books that it puts out there, for tutorials and stuff like that. I haven't looked at them a whole lot. But we're going to click the create run book up top.
All right.
And we're going to give it a run book name.
Pause fabric.
Yeah, well, we're going to be able with parameters to either pause or suspend. So it's not that specific.
Fabric management.
So Shaggy, we got Scooby,
Scooby
we got
snack.
Dog, and Scooby Snacks. Sure.
There we go.
And we're going to want to say PowerShell.
Okay.
And the runtime version should just be the latest. So they have a recommended.
Okay.
And then you could give a description here, right? This will allow us to pause and suspend fabric capacities.
All right. Then I go to next. And here's
again, you can put everything
Or
has
no.
tags. Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see the tags that you've used, and I keep tending to put the same things over and over again. Yeah, it's a lot of repeat, but when somebody else is looking at it, it helps.
100%.
So this should create pretty quickly. There you go. Now, if we expand, I don't think we have to. Yeah, you could expand run books, but I don't think anything's there yet. Yeah, it's just, we got Scooby Snack selected. So you're going to take all that PowerShell code and that you put into your notepad and copy it into this.
So just from here on down, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Copy and paste. Okay.
And I don't think there was anything else that I needed to change. What I like is Richard was kind enough to put his author and edit time in there. I think it's good to keep giving somebody credit for that. So for future me or for somebody else coming in here, in that description block or in that little block right there, the comments, I tend to put the article that I got it from as well.
That's a great idea. I was just thinking that. Because then, like, if we ever have a problem, go back to it, right?
Exactly, right? Or, having, more information. I know once I read this, I got on LinkedIn and thanked Richard and everything. He said he doesn't post a whole lot, but this was extremely, extremely helpful. So it's always good, and then somebody else that's going to copy it or go somewhere else and you're not there, right? Or put it in a second time. They have they have the documentation. So always help your future self.
Right,
okay,
Kevin,
so
where do I enter the parameters?
Well, we're going to get there. So let's go ahead and save this.
So save.
And
so
now
it says I successfully saved the runbook Scooby Snack. Okay, so that's good.
So let's go to the test pane.
Test pane. I don't know what you're talking about.
The up top where it was save, publish, revert. No, one down. Right there.
Here. Okay.
Okay. So now when we go into test, right, we could put in all of our parameters at this time.
This is where we put in our stuff. Got it. It's almost like we could use this any place then. Is that right?
Exactly. Any place that we gave the automation account access. So if you're going to set up, if you're going to have, you know, well, I'll go back to Shaggy, right? I guess we're just sticking with the guys on that show, right? If we set up another capacity called Shaggy, I'd have to give the automation account that same managed identity access to that capacity as well.
Okay.
Okay. So now here you could say the method is going to be resume or suspend. So resume obviously is going to start it again. Suspend is going to stop it. If you review
No,
that
actually,
code,
it stopped. That's what I have to do is just resume, right?
I was just going to say, it doesn't matter which, if
Okay.
you have it started or you have it paused, the code in here looks at that status and decides whether to send it over. I think it does a look at it first. Let's see. Yeah, because it looks to get the current state, and then based upon the current state and the parameter you set in, it makes a decision whether to call it's invoking an Azure REST method, and it makes a decision whether to call that REST method or not.
Okay.
Okay.
What do I put in for the API version?
It has a default, but yeah, here it's saying it's a mandatory value. So put in that 2022 7, the same thing that was in the code. Let's see.
Okay, so the
2022-07-01-preview.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So now this is going to go ahead and test it. So we have, I don't know if you want to go to another browser window and bring up the capacity state again. Because I believe you said we're currently paused, right?
Let's see. Yep, dog is paused. Right.
Okay. So now if we go ahead and start this, our expectation is it's going to resume. And so it first queues it up. It takes a little bit sometimes for it to call. And it's going to come back here and let us know it's complete. So, you know, fill the time with bad dad jokes or something. I don't know.
Someone mentioned like Scooby snacks. My wife said they those old gummies Scooby snacks, they've come back out with them. They're now called mood gummies. They're pretty tasty. I don't like it if you eat more than a couple of them, you get really sick. So just be careful with those.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out whether they're gummies for kids or gummies for adults, because I haven't looked into them a whole lot. All right, we're saved by it seems like the test is complete. So we get this with the status code of 202 is telling us that it's been posted out there because it runs asynchronously, right?
It completed. We got a 202. I think that's a positive, right?
That's a good result. So let's go back over to here.
Oh, look at that. I didn't even have to refresh the screen.
Yeah, it'll sometimes so now we can see that it's active. Now you could run the same test and you could tell
so
it
I could do
pause,
the same thing and I could say pause.
Suspend is the key word. Sorry. If you want it to be pause, you could, you know, go in and modify the code, but he has it as suspend. I think we'll hold off on anything else right now. I can't see the chat because I have you in full screen, so I could see it. Is there anything that else is in the chat? It
does make you crave giant sandwiches.
So how did Shaggy eat all the food that he could eat and not get any bigger? That doesn't seem to happen for me.
Scooby snaps.
I guess running after all those ghosts is what really kind of helps him. He does a lot of running.
They do lots of cardio. That's
yeah. I think that's it. So, and that's really why they're eating more than anything else, is because there's so much cardio they're doing. If you think of, my legs can't move that fast when I'm running. So,
Right. All right. So still, it's starting up.
yeah, there's a little bit of a queue process. If we go back over, I think sometimes it takes a while to kind of get there is a refresh button there up top too.
Yeah.
Pause, refresh. And that, that's another way to cover if you're going to do it manually, right? This is leading up to next we're going to throw in a schedule, but you could always manually pause and unpause. So like if I have to do some development for my client or whatever, I use the same capacity, I manually resume or pause it depending on, what state I'm in. And that's what I like about that run book is,
Okay. So it says we're done.
Yep. So you should be able to go back to your other tab.
Oh, and there it is.
There it is. Okay, great.
Okay,
So,
but now that's the manual. I mean, that's the same as manual. How do I get this? How do I get this to schedule this thing?
Excellent question. So you can follow your breadcrumbs up top there and go back to your Scooby snack. There might be a leave button. I can't see the bottom of your screen.
I can't either.
Oh, the X. You know what? You could use that X over to the far right top.
Oh, that.
But that's going to say the same thing. Like we don't have to worry about any.
Okay.
Okay. So next, we know everything works. We've tested it. We're going to publish.
We're gonna publish it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Publish this run book.
Because that's how we know everything is good.
Awesome.
Okay. And I believe that publishes right away. I don't think there's any message that we have on here.
Yeah.
Now, you see schedules about 5 down, 6 down, something like that?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to go in and add a schedule.
Okay.
And I need to
figure parameters and run settings, or
yeah, we should be able to say create add a schedule.
Okay, start.
So we're going to give it a schedule name, and this schedule can be reused. So I tend to name the schedules things like daily and the time that I'm going to do it, right? Because I may not use it only for start. I might use it for something else. But again, you can come up with whatever your standards are.
Daily at midnight.
Sure. And so you're going to give it a description.
Okay.
And you're going to have to tell it what day to start on. So midnight is actually going to be, the 20th, and you can put in 12 a.m.
Yep.
Central Time, and you can say it's recurring. Yep. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see you have all that. You can set an expiration if you want. Okay. I believe your image is blocking. There should be an OK button.
Oh, yeah,
that's probably what.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oops.
So now you're going to go to jobs. I think it's jobs.
What happened? Did I not save it?
I thought you did.
Oh. So I have one. Schedules here.
Okay.
Parameters. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, this should be setting up a job, but I thought I did it differently.
Okay.
Let me look back out over here.
Subscription, research group. At the start? Or no, resume.
Resume, yes.
Capacity is dog. And API version is this. Okay. Okay. There we go. Now I have a schedule. I haven't finished it. All right.
Okay. Oh, so jobs shows us the executions of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so you would set up another one. So you're going to add a schedule, and let's say whatever. So that's going to be, that was daily your resume, right?
4 a.m. Yep. What was our pattern? Daily 4 a.m. Yep.
That's usually all I put in to know my schedule name.
Mm-hmm.
but again, people may look at it differently.
0
We got to be on
recurring,
rum books.
recurring every day. Set expiration, create.
Yeah, maybe my naming. Yeah, linked rum books.
Add schedule, daily, 4 a.m. Dog. I don't know what I got wrong there, but we won't do that. Oh, did I not start it the right day?
Yeah,
I
you got it.
put it to be in the past. I bet that was the issue. 4 a.m. reoccurring every day. Set expiration, no. Create. Okay, successful. Now we can enter the parameters that I had.
And so it's going to be a long live stream because we're going to have to sit here now till midnight to see that this runs.
But just hang in there. We'll be taking
Yeah, just hang.
some
Yeah, we'll just
Scooby
keep
snacks and we'll be
talking
having a
about
great time.
different types of gummies. Do you know that after Jimmy
Is this
Buffett,
pause? What was it again?
Suspend.
Suspend.
So, you know, unfortunately, we lost Jimmy Buffett last year, but you know, he had a new album come out, I think, real close to the time that he passed away.
Yeah.
And there is a song about gummies on that. So,
Right. Oh, well, there we go. This is it.
There you
isn't it?
go. We made it through it. What time is it? Oh my goodness, we got like 9 minutes left. What are we gonna do? And we didn't have any major catastrophes on a live demo.
Inconceivable. Yeah. Like that, I think that what happened when we were trying to do like solo live demos, then it's a bit of a challenge. But when we team up and do live demos, that's when we have better success. Yeah, look at that now.
I'm just seeing the chat again here. So sing a song. My wife happens to love that album, so every time we're in a car, I keep hearing the new Jimmy Buffett album. And here's another one that fits kind of the theme. I think the title of the song is "Love Me Like My Dog Does." So he talks about all these comparisons, how his dog loves him to anybody else, type of thing. So it's a good album. It's a good album.
Oh yes, sing it loud. Come on, load. Oh, good deal, good deal. All right. Well, I mean, that was easy, right? I mean, we did it live. We did with everyone like keeping like looking at what we're doing. I think other people can do this.
I think so too. It's not that difficult. Refer back to this live stream if you want to. You know, some of the steps of doing the setup and putting the permissions in don't exist in that article. But you could come back here and see it. You know, if you don't know it, once you do it one time, it's pretty simple. And as you see, Azure is making it even easier. I forgot that they started allowing you to see all those managed identities. When I had to do one a long time ago, I had to actually search for that ID. So it's even easier than the way we were looking for it. So unbelievable. And this part will actually save you money.
Yes.
Now,
everything we were talking about when it comes to all the other things will just save you on CUs, and that's not actual cash. This saves cash.
And remember, I think we've talked about it before, and we kind of showed it, right? The bursting and smoothing. And so what will happen is if you burst up and you take over the amount of CUs that you really have, and it starts smoothing it out. My understanding is even though you pause that capacity, you're still going to get billed that smooth time, right? So, you know, if you are, you know, having something that's running big and long, you know, it's not going to run longer than you have it allocated, but it allowed it to run through faster because it gave you more resources. You will still get billed that time from the smoothing. But, you know, once that's over, now you're saving money again. So,
well, and you know, honestly, it's probably a great way to like, you know, if you're in smoothing and maybe you're at max capacity for like an F2 or whatever level SKU you have, pausing it and resuming it you'll pay for that all at that moment, right? That bill comes due and all that comes in, and when you resume it again, you're on a brand new bursting and smoothing period. So if you are like, oh my gosh, nothing is finishing because you're caught in that, like that's a great way to do this. I found out something else yesterday, and leave a message in chat if you've heard this. Did you know if you're using a reserve capacity, right? So you can't pause it, right? It's a reserve capacity. You get 40% off. That's a good deal. Do you know that you could scale it up for a period of time? And during that scale up period, you only pay for, like if you're at an F64 or you're at an F2, and right, you just need to scale that up to an F4, you can do that at that like spot pricing. And then when you come back down, same instance, same everything, you just maintain that reserve pricing. So
I didn't know that. And
Yeah.
how long it allows you to go up for how long did you say?
Whatever you want. You're not at you don't go up at the reserve pricing. You go up at the spot pricing, but you can go back down to that reserve pricing in that same capacity. So
you get billed a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the auto scale concept on the current P1s, right?
Well, that's much better than the auto scale on the current P1s, because the P1s you pay for a day, right? Like, I go up to, like, if I go from a P1 to a P2, I pay that P2 price for a full 24 hours. This is spot. You go at the pay-as-you-go level, and if you run it for 10 minutes, you're up for 10 minutes. You're up for 10 hours. You're up for 10 hours, and you just pay that price.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
That's good. Yeah, I didn't know about that. So that's kind of new. I guess we'll start seeing more things come up about that. But
yep, and Adam is confirming, and Mim posted about this like, oh, everyone knew about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. So like, I think, yeah, Christina's right. This is a game changer when you think about managing your fabric capacities. That means, like, figure out what is going to truly be the general average of compute that you need in any given 24-hour period. And then that's the capacity you get. You don't have to worry about like managing things. But if you have spikes that have started to occur, you can scale up for that individual spike. So that's awesome.
So in the article from the code that we just put in, there's a second set of code that he has for scaling up a capacity or scaling it back down. So you could put an automation, and you could put another PowerShell runbook in there. And what I'm imagining is you could do these type of things. Like, we're starting to get into the time frame that people got to send out 1099s.
Yep.
And you might have spiked time that you need to do that or whatever, right? So you could take, I'm assuming that code will run against the reserve capacities too. Set it up, you're done, move it down. Cool.
Yep. But I got a hard stop.
Yeah, I know.
You guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us. It's been fantastic.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.